think everybody has something locked away. You go, I wish I was more adventurous, I wish I'd done this, all of those things. That ownership of the choices that you want to make but you maybe don't, it's sort of crucial to knowing yourself, and like for me anyway, for just feeling really good. Just the capacity that the water gives you for movement, especially if you're not like from a dance background. There's little gravity, there's less gravity. It's a different language under there. So I felt like, how lovely would it be to, you know, also encounter other people who want to move but feel maybe a bit self-conscious, or just maybe need some cues, or are secret dancers, or whatever it is. Like, it just wouldn't be lovely to share this feeling, like the knowledge that you get from, like, the knowledge that you get about yourself and how you can be once you've been in the water.
I was quite anxious about coming today just because I've never done anything like it and I'm not the most sporty person.
I'm definitely not a professional ballet dancer, nowhere near. I don't have that sort of natural grace.
It's been years since I've actually been in water, so kind of getting in when I'm doing holding your breath, it's quite scary to start with, and I had to relearn how to kind of go underwater and not just...
I've done one session with her before, and it's so different if you stop thinking of it as an exercise, but just as something to delight in. And that's what I want to get out of this. I'm doing this for the sheer pleasure of it.
To really encourage that connection, and sort of what we'd noticed from our explorations in the earlier project and things was that when you're under the water, it's really important that you're aware of whether someone needs to breathe, and without opening your eyes, without being able to see, if you're under the water with someone, you do notice that, you can feel it, you start to tune in different ways. And just for like safety reasons and also for group reasons, I wanted to kind of make sure that that connection was the very first thing that we did. We sort of wrapped people all together, which could feel like a restriction, but also I was hoping that it would enable people, kind of like a shortcut to that thing that you find over time in the water, under the water, when you're with other people, that you can feel somebody else's body move, you can feel the water move when they move, you don't necessarily need to be looking. Everybody was looking out for each other and everybody was like really aware, so the person who was being moved around by the whole group could just trust it. So there's loads of key things in that, like, you know, really sort of straightforward opening of connecting people. I think, yeah, trust and connection are some of the strongest things.
I was really thankful we started right at the very beginning, where it was just literally getting in the water and moving around, just getting used to feeling it and being in it. Because that was my worst fear, was thinking I was just going to go in, and it was right, straight, head under the water, hold your breath for as long as possible. But obviously Sarah's not like that, she's not going to do that. But yeah, so starting from the very beginning was really lovely. And then building up, learning movement, working with fabrics. It was just really, really nice to explore. That freeness was really lovely.
The fabric in water it's just naturally mesmeric. It gets people off the thought of like, what am I doing with my body? You're looking at the fabric, which is moving beautifully, just by accident. Because you're moving fabric, so does your arm, and then by extension, so does the rest of your body. And then because you're in water, you might start different rotations or movements that you would never be able to do or find on land. The weights are really handy technically for like sort of counter buoyancy, you know, to get us underwater if maybe some people, you know, don't trust that kind of process, don't like that, but like, you know, if you feel a weight, you will naturally, you know, kind of bob down a little bit. And it was fascinating. It meant that it was efficient because you didn't need to make yourself move, the weights did it. This is brilliant, like you just step off the ledge. And depending on how many weights you moved, and if you wanted to find a rotation, you just lift your arms up and the weights could let you travel back. So there was a way like to use them to open up, to find where your own balances are, where your own buoyancy is, like, and to allow the weights to move you through the water. So again, there's the other ways in case there are people, it's also just interesting, but like there are other ways in case there's sort of people who are like really uncertain, like, oh, I don't know how to move. Everybody does, but like, you know, but if you give people weights and say, just allow yourself to like move through the water, and I'll come with you and make sure everything's fine.
She said not to think of it as swimming, but just to go with the flow. It just feels more dancey, more flowing, rather than exercise of moving through water. It feels like it's more in tune with the water.
I think I feel more connected to my body than I have done in quite a while. I used to go to the gym, but then obviously the pandemic happened and sort of stopped all that, and had a treadmill in the house, but it's not the same thing at all. So you just become conscious of, oh, right, I can move like this, I didn't know that, and I can't move in that way, which I didn't expect. But when you get out, the immediate feeling when you get out is just like you're grounded, you feel really satisfied. Just the only word I can say. You feel satisfied, you feel like, oh yeah, I've done something different and exciting.
That journey from session 1 through to here, I think if I'd tried to do this on session 1, I probably wouldn't have come back. So it's sort of really, even though we've been in a completely different setting, sort of really prepared you for what to expect and how to experiment with the elements.
Myself and the rest of the group members decided to take it outdoors. So Sarah started off by asking us to kind of notice the things that maybe we take for granted. It's like I live really close to this beach, and I guess when I've come here in the past it's just been on a walk and it's been passing through. So to actually sit on the sand and notice the wind and where the sun is and where the shade is and hear the sounds of the ocean, and then to open your eyes and look and notice actually how beautiful and blue and clear it was. It was quite a lovely way to start. And then we were using long reams of fabric and exploring movement based on the sounds, which was nice because I think you tend to be quite tight in your everyday life. You're kind of quite closed in. So to suddenly have something where the wind's pulling it in different directions, it kind of opens you up a little bit.
I was saying to Sarah, I've noticed subtle changes in my body. I feel much more grounded and an even deeper sense of calm. But the fun of it is it's just having a laugh, playing with silly things and fun things, and I like to focus on the emotion I'm feeling, on the sensation I'm feeling, and it doesn't matter what anyone else thinks, whether they think, oh, you're mad or it's cold. It's how you feel.
When Sarah first said we were going to do a session outside, my first question was, oh my God, where are we going to be? Is there going to be people around? Because I'm very much used to that safe space that Sarah creates when you go into these sessions. Even initially when we were out and we were doing sort of the experimenting with the fabric and stuff like that, I did notice that there was people up here, And I think for a second it did put me off, and I sort of stopped what I was doing and just kind of like took a second, and then I was like, you know what it is? It doesn't matter. Just keep going. Like, they're going to do their thing, you're doing your thing. So it is a big difference, because obviously when you're at the diving centre, it's just you and the people that are also doing what you're doing. So there's no questions really, and there's no sort of fear of people judging you or doubting what you're doing.
Something like this, where it isn't for something else, it's just for its own thing in itself. I can't actually remember when I just spent time doing something because it was enjoyable. Yeah.
And it's focusing on what feels good for you. Because when it feels good for you, you want to do more of it.
It's nice to sort of develop that connection over these 4 weeks, where I can go into the sea and trust that, you know, if Liz holds out her hand, she's going to hold me and catch me and I'm not going to fall, which isn't something I think you develop quite quickly with people.
You know, maybe just that the way that we stop ourselves from doing things, sometimes maybe that has just kind of eroded a little bit, maybe.
If something intrigues you, go for it. Because until you're actually doing it, you don't know. You don't know if it's right for you. And I think Sarah makes you feel at ease very quickly. The other people on the group, in the group are lovely. And I think that would happen. I think that would happen again, because she works hard to create that environment. But equally, you know, if you came along and you were like, no, this is totally not for me, I don't think there'd be any judgment. I think it would be like, well, thank you for joining us. Yeah, don't put up barriers that aren't there. Don't give yourself a no before you've tried something. Yeah.